Hey guys, thanks for stopping by and wanting to hear my opinion on the Panasonic S5ii. I made an initial thoughts video already on it. It was a brief weekend trip with my wife and daughter, and basically like my first thoughts. That's essentially all it was, and what I had known and read about the camera beforehand. Now I've finally had the chance to use the Panasonic S5ii at a couple of weddings and a couple of small branding shoots, and gotten to dive in a little bit further. It doesn't take long when you're used to shooting on a certain type of camera body when you jump over to a new one to see the differences pretty much right away. Full disclaimer, Panasonic did not sponsor this video. I bought the camera with my own money, as well as this is my thoughts as a wedding filmmaker. We shoot in like every type of circumstances as wedding filmmakers. And I feel like it pushes our gear to the limits pretty well, so we get a pretty good read on how these handle out in the wild. So for starters on the camera is the price. It's $26.99 Canadian as compared to, it's around 1900 Canadian, maybe more like 2000 Canadian for the S5 Mark I. So it's a little bit more, but you get a lot more with what you're buying in it. So if you want to jump into the ergonomics of it, it's still a very small body, like the S5 was. Now I know the S5 was smaller than the GH5, which is pretty crazy. That's the camera that we came from, but to have a sensor like almost 4 times the size and the body being smaller is pretty awesome. The S5ii is slightly bigger. It's got a little bit bigger of a grip on the hand, which is nice. It's nice to have that. And at the top where the hot shoe mount is, they've added a fan in there, so they've made that a little bit bigger as well, but obviously not, like, it doesn't really make any difference in the use of the camera aside from the performance of it, so that's a very big plus. They've changed the strap mounts from the dingly-dangly ones to fixed ones, which is nice. You don't hear those rattling around when you're using on-camera audio or even just moving around, which is really nice. That's pretty big upgrade in my opinion. Now what everybody wants to know, I'll just get it out of the way early on, is the autofocus. Is it good? Is it better than the S5? How does it compare to other cameras like the Canons and the Sonys out there that are pretty much leaders in the AF system nowadays? I have shot on the Canon R5 and the C70 quite a bit the past few years, and if any of you have ever used those, and even if you just know about them, the autofocus on the R5 specifically is one of the best. In comparison to that, I was expecting this to not perform as well. It does. This guy delivers. Holds up really good. I'd actually say in some cases it's a bit better. It looks a little bit more organic. Now obviously that is subjective to the settings on your camera. You can change it for quicker autofocus, you can do it slower so it looks a little bit more organic, but right out of the box, I didn't change any settings. I just wanted to see how it came, and it's pretty awesome. I've since further dialed the autofocus in a little bit better, but it's pretty great. I will say the autofocus is a great feature to have. Mainly for me, I'm more excited for like a talking head video where I'm just sitting in one place and it can kind of follow me around. I also use the camera for like Zoom meetings or like talking online with people, so that's nice to have it in focus because you never really stay in the same place. You might move this way or that way and it might lose you, so it's nice to have that. In a wedding setting, I've just never felt confident relying on any autofocus anyways, just because the moments are so important. So we usually just use it to grab focus and then flick it back on manual. It is nice for something like a recessional or a pre-sessional where people are walking up and down the aisle. That is a huge game changer for me, because before I'd have to have a hand kind of like be holding it and I'd be manual focusing like this the whole time, moving in and out. So now I can just kind of flick that switch, although I'm not comfortable taking my hand further away. So it doesn't make a big difference, but it's nice that you can think of a little bit less. But I actually personally find myself paying more attention to the focus when I have it on autofocus, because it's just in the back of my head. I just don't trust things that easily. So it has performed well. I haven't had any issues with it, but I'm just used to manual focus, so I'm still like a little afraid to get too comfortable with it. I would never set it on autofocus and look away ever, but it performs great. One thing to note in regards to the phase detect autofocus that they've added, in my first initial thoughts video, a lot of people commented that the phase detect autofocus wasn't available in 1080p. or in higher frame rates in 1080p, which seemed like a lot of people, that was a downer for them. For me, I haven't shot in 1080 for like 5 or 6 years at least. Not a deal breaker for me, but something to note or be aware of if you are a 1080p shooter still in this day and age. One of those weirdos. The IBIS is a super easy one, super easy point to touch on. It's the best on the market quite easily without comparison to any other camera. Again, if you're comparing it to the Canons, it is a lot better, a lot more organic, and just better overall. The S5 alone was incredible IBIS, and now that they've made the S5 II, they claim 200% better. Would I say it's 200% better? Probably. Like, it was good to begin with, but I do find it's a lot more organic. I didn't find any like jerking or jittery motions before. Obviously, I'm not running around swinging it around like crazy or anything like that. I like purposeful movements. Like, we shoot handheld all day. We don't use gimbals anymore, and we can get gimbal-like shots with it if we were wanting to throw something like that in there, which is pretty nice. One thing to note, I have noticed a little wobble up in the corners once in a while, but nothing compared to, again, what you've seen out there that people complain about. It's pretty good. I think a lot of the wobble that I notice comes from we stack filters, like multiple filters on there. And if we're not paying super close attention, we get a little bit of vignetting or some light pops in there and you're getting that obviously will like move around a little bit. So that's more of the wobbles that I really notice. If everything's exposed nice and you're not picking any of that up, you're not getting any wobbles. We shoot on a 24-70, so we can go on the wider end of things. It's pretty good. I've also had a 16-35 on it and have noticed a little bit of wobbles, but I think that's just what you get. Kind of comes with the territory of a super wide lens with IBIS, but it's definitely really good. You can shoot handheld all day long, like walking. I've found myself laughing so many times on the first wedding I shot with it, just walking. I'm like, why is this so stable? It's pretty ridiculous. If you're looking for a camera with a good IBIS, there's no other one to pick. Now, as far as the image quality, Panasonic has some of the nicest color renditions out of any cameras, in my opinion. Super natural, super beautiful, super pleasing. The 6K sensor downsampled is just a very beautiful image. We use 1/8 Pro Mist filters, so we dial out a little bit of that digital sharpness, which is nice. Paired with, if you're shooting in 6K, the file sizes are really big, but shooting in 6K with a nice 1/8 diffusion filter on there is my favorite image out of any camera that I've shot with. Maybe at a tie with the C70. Dynamic range-wise, the C70's got a bit more, but colors and everything out of this bad boy is first camera that I'm like fully like, I don't need to use any other camera. I'm pretty excited with what comes out of this. I will say color-wise, compared to the original S5, it's pretty identical, like it's pretty close, maybe a little bit more saturated, but for some reason it looks better. Maybe it's a placebo thing, but I do find it looks a little bit better, but they are also very similar colors. A nice one that I was really excited about too is that when you're shooting in 4K 60, yes, sadly you still have the crop, not a big deal for me, I'm used to it. It shoots in 10-bit 422 in 4K 60 frames per second instead of 10-bit 420 like the original S5, which is a nice little upgrade. Now, to touch on the low light capabilities on this, it again, like the S5ii, has dual native ISO. It's got 640 and 4000. The low light is like incredible. The 4000, it is so clean, it's so beautiful. It's really nice to be able to push that. I do know the current Sonys have a second native ISO of 12,500, I think, which is ridiculous, super high. So Sony obviously kind of wins in the low light abilities category, but from the tests that I've seen, between 4,000 up to that 12,500 in comparison with the two, the Panasonic is a cleaner, more organic looking image, which is shocking for me. So in my opinion, the S5 Mark I was already a great camera. If you didn't mind not having autofocus, for the price, packed a mean punch. It was a competitor with everything out there. Again, probably a great starter camera if you were looking to get into this. Very accessible because of the price. But now with the S5 Mark II, it's a very strong competitor with every other camera out there. I won't go through this whole entire rig. This video's been long enough, but I'll make a separate video building my rig and maybe talking about some of the parts in it. Let me know down in the comments below what you want to know about the rig portion about it. I usually don't get too in depth with talking about camera stuff. I'm not the most technical minded person. These are like just my honest thoughts from using the camera and we do use our cameras a lot, so hopefully this can help answer some questions for you. We'll answer them in the comments as best we can, and we'll also do our best to answer it in future videos for you as well. I never know how to sign off. I feel so awkward saying goodbye on a YouTube video, but I guess, see ya.